Welcome to Next Gen Leadership Live. I am your host, Jimmy Ryan, and today we are just chuckling at our current setup of Sasha. And welcome, Gino. What's up, guys?
Hey,
Hey,
this is
hey.
episode number 10.
It
So
is.
I think it's interesting what we're going to talk about today because there's so many times that you start things and you don't finish them, or that you say you're going to do something and you don't. And these are starting to tie together, right? If I look back at the last 10 episodes, things are starting to tie together and you're starting to get a feel for if I would have watched all 10 episodes, I'd be how far along now in improving my career.
100%. So we're going to talk about discipline and what that means as a leader. And I'm taking on a new person that I'm training, and I wanted to talk about training. And I think that discipline and training really go hand in hand. So you said that I have a couple good things on this, Gino. So I want to just let it rip. What does it mean to be disciplined? How do you inspire good discipline habits in people that you're leading? And then how do you train somebody from the very beginning and kind of lead them there?
So, wow, that's a lot. And to steal Dave Savage's word or Todd Duncan's, I think one or both of them used them a lot, but we need to unpack that shit. Like, seriously. There's
one at a time.
Yeah. So let's start with discipline, because it's probably the thing that holds everybody back from massive success. And I was joking before we got on the call, I'll tell everybody, if you're hyper disciplined, it kind of doesn't matter what you do, you'll be successful. Because
100%.
the skills can come, right? So the skills can be trained, the skills can be learned, but discipline is something that comes from within. And discipline, defined by Mike Tyson, is doing the things that you don't like doing as if you love them. And Jocko says that discipline will set you free. And if you look at Atomic Habits, it's habits that create discipline. So if habits create discipline, and discipline will set you free, and discipline will give you the results you're looking for, then we got to start with habits. Like, the root of discipline is habits. And there could be good habits or bad habits, and those are the ones that are dictating your direction. And so we've got to identify, like, I would do this exercise. Write down on a board, what are my good habits? What are my bad habits? And then set a timeline next to each bad habit about when you're going to stop those bad habits. And then on the good habits, I would double down on the ones that you know you can double down on. And then I would have a list of habits I want. So you've got good habits, bad habits, and habits I want. And so now, if you've identified those three things, you've now set the stage for what the scary word of discipline.
I mean, wow.
I didn't even know I had all that in me.
I know, right? I was
good.
Like, we'll just we're going to end the show right now. Everyone go have a cocktail or a cup of coffee and enjoy your day. No, so, look, you're not always the part that I think discipline is hard for, unless you just naturally are a very either OCD, organized, or disciplinary type personality, is that if you don't have the motivation, right, which is what you were tapping into, Gino, discipline is necessary to help you get through things and to build those habits and to get the things done, because we're not always going to be motivated. And so there's kind of two ways in my mind you can look at it. One is get motivated and then apply the discipline, or apply the discipline and use it as a fuel to motivate yourself. And I don't know who figured this out, probably some scientist far smarter than I, but it takes 21 days conditionally to change a habit or create a new habit, right? So once you do something consistently for 21 days, science shows, whoever the heck figured this out, this is where I need Sonia to look it up for me, that you should be able to theoretically continue that. And so I also think you've got to consider you don't know until you try what's going to work for you. And you're going to probably have to throw a little spaghetti on the wall. So to your point, pick some habits to work on. Maybe, change is better when we do it incrementally, small little bites. So maybe pick one new habit and see if you can commit to it for 21 days. And if you can, then on the other side of it, hopefully you have a habit that you can continue with that is that foundation for discipline, and you can move on to the next. If you can't, go back and review it and figure out through reflection, why didn't I? Was it the wrong discipline, the wrong habit? It just didn't work for me stylistically and I got to pick something else and try again? Or did I just not really give it my all? Did I not commit to it? And so next 21 days, we're going to try it again.
So at the top of that sheet where we have those 3 sets of habits, I would write the magic that you're looking for is in the habit that you're avoiding.
Yeah,
Okay.
the work that you're avoiding too, right?
It's the work you're avoiding, but
Yeah,
we're
I like
everything
it. Yeah.
So so I would put that at the
Yeah.
top of the sheet. You've got the 3 things. I can tell you that there's also studies that 21 days is not enough to break a bad habit.
No, I'm
Now,
not surprised by that.
It is probably enough to build a new habit, but it's not enough to break a bad habit. And breaking a bad habit can be so to the core of who you are and the trauma that you've brought with your whole life. And so breaking bad habits is harder than adding new habits. And look, we don't have to rewrite the world. I mean, Atomic Habits is about habit stacking, which is exactly what you just said, Sasha. And so for me, down this quest of health and wellness, that's what I've been doing. I've been adding habits, adding habits. The goal, the reason, the purpose, the why was peak performance so that I could lead my team better and better sleep. Believe it or not, that was the first habit. The first habit that I wanted to change was better sleep. And then because of better sleep, I stopped drinking at some point because drinking was really jacking up my sleep and my ribs, but that's a different story for another time. But it was jacking up my sleep. And so sleep was the first habit. And then sleep. And then I had always been going to the gym, so I didn't need to add the gym. I just need to make sure that I was doing more productive things at the gym. That's the other thing is you may have a habit that you do half-ass. How about improving on that one? You don't have to always add new habits. What if you just got one that you just get better at? Right? Maybe you're making 20 calls a day. Not all that much harder to make 40.
You're tapping into a bigger theme though, Gino, that I think is so critical in order to be successful with any breaking of bad or creating of new habit, which is your wellness and the balance you have in your life. Like if you are constantly exhausted, drained, unmotivated, not happy, like you name it, you could try all day long to create a new healthy habit and likely it's not going to go anywhere because your foundation, your core isn't strong. And so it's, yes, we need to create discipline in business, but we almost have to create, to your point, the good habits to take care of ourselves so we can show up at our best. And then when we're in that centered, grounded, best place, now we can put the discipline in place for business things. And now we're going to have a higher chance of success with those habits because we've gotten our holistic being in a better place to even try on discipline or a new habit in business.
So I want to target us a little bit.
I'll let you talk in a second, Jimmy, but the truth of the matter is it starts with you.
Yeah.
It starts with you. You have to get you right first.
So now to transition. Okay, we got us right. We're doing good. Our disciplines are in check. We're working on stuff, but look, we're largely good. How do we inspire that in others? Now, we're maybe not perfect also, still. How do we inspire our team to be disciplined, to uphold a standard of discipline, really? And I guess, how do you do that in a leadership role?
It's going to be so individual, right? It's going to be
situational leadership was what I was going to say.
Yeah, it is. You got to find what makes each one of them tick. You got to find out where someone's at in their life before you can take them on a journey anywhere else.
Yeah. But if you have someone, to be more specific to your question, Jimmy, I do think situational leadership is the right answer to Gino's point. But if we dive into that, double click, if you have someone who's younger, greener, newer, and might need a little bit more guidance and hand-holding along the way, then showing them a few structures and saying, hey, how do you operate best? And if you don't know, then let's try something, see how it works. Do you want me to give you one structure and let's try it and we'll have meetings and I'll hold you accountable until it becomes kind of a muscle that you can exercise on your own? Or do you prefer to kind of have more autonomy, authority, go out, figure it out yourself, and then we'll check in a month and see how you're doing? And the proof is in the pudding, right? Depending on how they do, you'll know, did it work, did it not? And then for others who are more senior, more tenured, it could just be more of a, hey bud, like, do you just need an accountability partner? Like we all do, right? Like you've been around the block, you know what you're doing, you know what you need to do, you just don't want to do it. I
Yep.
can give you tips all day long. I can recommend every book under the sun. I can give you the motivational speech every morning. Bottom line is, to your point, back to Gino, it starts with you. You know that. So what can I do to support you? Is it just giving you the accountability? Do you need something else? Do you need the pep talk? And I think people that are more senior should be able to articulate what it is that they need and be self-aware enough to know what support is going to really hold them accountable to get it done.
So who is arguably the number one lender in the nation?
Champenoza.
Person
No,
or
no.
organization?
No, organization.
Isn't it Quicken?
Yeah. It's Rocket
Yeah.
Mortgage,
I
right?
was going to say Rocket. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same company.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Because 100% of their loan officers are employees. And guess what employees do? What they're told to do, because they don't want to lose their job. So what we need to do is treat this more like a goddamn real job. Show up when you're supposed to show up. Do the things your boss tells you to do, and you'll be more successful. Period. End of story. Guaranteed. I just yesterday I said, I bet you I could take a 20-year-old to make $1 million next year if they just did exactly what I told them to do.
Gino,
Oh, I love it.
Meanwhile, sidebar, Gino's phone is
Look-
now blowing up. LO
I
after
know the guys
LO.
are pissed at me,
You
but listen, but if they
arse.
look- but if they look in the mirror, they know it's true. If I look in the
You're
mirror,
right,
I
you're
was
right.
an originator for 20 years. I know it's true. How many times did I call people I already knew weren't going to do anything, but I knew they were easy calls? It's not the call I was supposed to make. How many times did I go to lunch with the same real estate agent that hasn't given me a lead in 6 months? What a total waste of time. Right? I mean, so we just don't do the hard. Embrace the suck. That's the only thing that's going to work right now is doing the hard things we don't want to do. It really is right now in this market. And get you right first, because mindset's hard right now. I mean, this business can punch you in the gut every single day of your life. You're gonna put deals in that like one of my LOs just told me, he's like, every day I feel like I got 3 in escrow and none of them make it. Yeah, it's just that's just the
So
market.
sad.
You know, like a deal falls out because the water heater's broken. You're like, dude, I'll pay for the water heater. Just keep the shit together.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
It's just a weird market, but it is getting better. Thank goodness. I could tell you that from the ground level, the last 60 days, fallout has been reduced. Buyers have been more committed. I think that the media talking about lower rates is helping everybody's mindset a little bit. And so our salespeople are doing a better job of selling because they feel better, because they've got a few deals, because it's summer, because honestly, this summer was way better than last summer and possibly even than the summer before. So it does feel like we're climbing out of the hole. And I think consumers feel that way too. I feel like they don't feel the pressure of inflation they've felt over the last couple of years. So with everything pointing right, this is the time to improve our habits if we're going to be strong through the winter, because that's something we have to be honest with ourselves about. Is like right now we're in the good times and everything's feeling better.
But winter is coming.
Winter's coming.
Yeah.
So what are you doing on your team, Gino? Like, what are you doing to actually inspire that in people? Like, are you just leading by example? Because I know you are in a lot of ways, you know, and people could look up to you in a lot of different ways for what you do personally. But I mean, not everybody's you also, you know, and I guess it is situational, but like in, I guess, a general sense, how are you inspiring that positive habits and good discipline in others?
I mean, we do all the normal things. We send out books to people to read. We send out motivational quotes and videos. We have weekly sales calls, which are super important. If you don't have, because you don't have the time for one-on-ones when you have a large group. You do one-on-ones here and there, but they're spot checked. They're not like, I don't have time to do a one-on-one with everybody in our organization every week or something like that. So weekly sales meetings have been a great one. And if you don't know what to talk about at a weekly sales meeting, it's what's working, what's not, what are you going to do this week? And by the way, here's the 3 or 4 product niches that we were successful with last week. Hey, our bridge loan product is awesome. Make sure that you familiarize yourself with those guidelines. Did you know that we're doing I-10 loans in-house? Make sure you familiarize yourself with guidelines. So I've spent a lot of time on the loan knowledge portion of it. And Don spends a little more time on the motivational sales, rah, keeping people's spirits high. I want to make sure that everybody's a strong technician so that when the opportunity arises, they're ready for the opportunity. Because that's the worst. Imagine that the opportunity arises and you're not ready for it.
Right. Sasha.
Oh man, what question was, what am I doing with people to help them? I mean, for one, and we've talked about this on other calls, like having that face-to-face time and letting people just talk and having that bridge of empathy to let them emote whatever they need to emote, I think is step one, right? You got to get it out of your system. But when I coach clients in particular, they get like a 5-minute window, right? Where it's like, you got 5 minutes to pour your shit out and then we're done rolling around in it, right? At that point, we move on, because I don't know about you, but I don't want to roll in the shit for longer than that, right? And so if you put that parameter in place, then it's like, okay, you got it out of your system. Do you feel better? Great, wonderful. Now let's move into what are we going to do to make things different, to make things better, to change, right? And that point, it's implementing all the things we've just talked about. And I think you have to continue to be an active listener for multiple reasons. For one, you want to hear when they go back into the excuse, and you got to pull them back and go, we agreed we weren't going to do that anymore, right? We drew the line, right? So let's stay in the present. Let's stay positive. Let's stay focused on what we can control. For two, because you're also listening for that situational leadership opportunity, like what is resonating with them, what's not, and then you can modify from there. A couple of other things I love to do, like Stoic principles practices are so great for this kind of stuff, right? Because it just cuts through the BS and it gets down to brass tacks. And like one of my favorite practices that Stoics did is think about the worst case scenario, right? Worst case scenario, you don't sell any loans, you don't make any money, you have to sell your house, file for bankruptcy, whatever it is, right? Are you still alive? Still breathing? Likely still have all your limbs and walking compared to most people. I mean, there's certainly some people out there that have that and manage through it probably better than we do, because they've been forced to address their mindset in a more critical manner than us, right? And if that's the case, you know, like, okay, if the worst happened, I can still survive and get through it. Yeah, it'd suck. It wouldn't be great. But like, yeah, Gino's been through it. And guess what? He's still here and he's stronger for it and he's better for it. And he probably won't ever be there again because he learned from it.
Or
right?
I'm willing to be there again because I know that I can recover.
Because you can recover.
In 2012, so just so that everybody knows the story, in 2012, I got my car repossessed. I got my house repossessed when my son was 12 days old. I filed for bankruptcy and I had to start completely all over. That may seem like losing, but at the end of the day, what that did is it made me leave the company I was at and start down a whole new endeavor that led to my greatest success. So in adversity, you have to find what drives you and build from it. Like, let the pain drive you, right? Let the pain drive you. And Don doesn't like that I say this, but I was like, I'll do it all over again. I'll do it all over again. Because last time I lost some stuff. This time, if I was to lose everything, I'd lose more stuff because I just amassed more stuff because we're stronger this time around. We're smarter this time around. We have better people surrounding us this time around. So what happens is you can recover faster, right? It's just like a muscle. Like once you've damaged the muscle, the faster you recover, the faster you can do it again. So as long as going through pain is not the problem, recovery is what's important.
And you hit on two things. Stuff. It's just stuff, right? As long as we have our health, our family, the things that really matter, which no one can take that away from us, right? Think about people that have been in prison that have, like Nelson Mandela and others who have inspired us to say, like Anne Frank in an attic, like no matter what your circumstances, no one can take away your thoughts. No one can take away your experience. Like that's still on you. And the other side of it is what you're calling out is the grit and the resiliency to keep going. And as long as we keep that in our forefront of our mind, we can get through anything, no matter how hard.
Number one determining factor in success has been determined to be grit.
Did you read my Monday Magic this week, Gino?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, of course you didn't, because it's too long for you. But it was on grit. It was a quote from Angela. I hate you some days, you know? But it talks about like.
But I'm honest.
Grit is, you are honest. Grit is doing the work without expecting the results right now, because you're not going to see all the results you want right now. And to your point, Harvard Business Review and probably Success Magazine and everyone else and their mother has proven that it is the most important factor that defines the difference between successful and unsuccessful people is if you have grit.
Yeah.
And you don't build grit from smooth sailing, silver spoon fed situations. You build it from road rash.
Yeah. Road rash. And then I love Elon
it.
Musk said last week, eat the glass.
Yeah.
Eat the glass. He says, listen,
well, I mean, that's a little Grinch-like, but okay.
He's like, listen, my job as the CEO. So everybody is the CEO of your own life, right? So think about it this way. He says, the problems that come to me to fix are only the absolute worst problems in the world that nobody else could fix. But if I don't fix them, no one will. So I'm going to eat the glass and fix that problem, right? So when you find yourself in a situation, and I've been doing this, by the way, this is really good. Yesterday, I know there was one thing that I have to get done. And honestly, I kind of didn't feel like dealing with it. I really didn't feel like doing it. And I told myself, I said, eat the glass. You'll be happy you did. And sure enough, I worked on it. It was Sunday. I spent 6 hours on it. That's why I was dreading it, because I spent 6 hours on it and it's still not done. I still have another 3 to 4 hours to spend on it. But now that I've spent the 6 hours on it, guess what? I could see the finish line. And now I'm almost there. And now I'm like, I could finish this and I feel good about it. And I'm like, so sometimes just getting started in that direction doesn't mean you're going to, solve all the world's problem, but just get started in that direction. And hopefully you fall into something you're like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it was. And you can get it done.
The other thing I'll just say, and Phil and I talked about it last week on the Power Hour around mindset, is you've got to celebrate the wins along the way. Book that you recommended to me, Gino, Gap in the Gain, talks about like the horizon can keep moving if you want to keep moving it, but that's not rewarding, right? Like it's good to push ourselves to grow and to keep pushing that horizon in some instances, but we also have to recognize when we meet one horizon and celebrate the fact that we met that horizon. There's always going to be stuff tomorrow. There's always going to be more problems to solve. There's always going to be more issues to deal with. But like we have to celebrate those wins to make ourselves feel like, okay, I've accomplished something, I've achieved something. Because when we do that, now we're telling our mind, like we're reconditioning our mind to say, it's worth the effort. So I'm going to keep doing it because every time I do, I celebrate the win and I feel better and better and better. And oh, by the way, more wins beget more wins.
I think we could kind of cut it off right there.
Yeah, we're over time. I've loved all of this, guys. This has been an excellent episode. I mean, just to summarize, write down your good habits, your bad habits, your want habits. The magic is in the habits that you're wanting. My God, we had a ton of great quotes on discipline. You guys just listed off like everybody's stuff. Do weekly sales meetings, and be an empathetic listener. Actually care about your people. And all that can help you make a great leader. So I want to thank Gino and Sasha for joining us today. I want to thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.